Hey, everybody. I'm Jim Kerr. Welcome to the Indispensable Conversation podcast. Be warned, this episode just may send some shivers down your spine. Today, we're tackling the question: can national regulations guarantee the proper and equitable use of AI? My special guest is 𝐂𝐿𝐞. If you don't know who Luca is, he wrote a brilliant piece in a recent edition of the World Financial Review called From Dot-Com Dreams to AI Frontiers, Navigating the Tech Revolution. The article offered a comprehensive exploration of the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead in our tech-driven world. And it's for this contribution to leadership thinking that makes him the perfect guest to confront this question with me today. So join me in welcoming 𝐂𝐿𝐞 to the show. Welcome aboard, Luca.
Thank you very much. I am very excited, happy, at the same time impatient to share my thoughts. And thank you for this opportunity because
Uh,
it's important.
yeah, the honor's all mine. Let's dive right in. I want to start with the question: can national regulations guarantee the proper and equitable use of AI? What do you think, Luca?
I must be honest or politically correct. Uh, okay, let's say that there is the question is correct, but bring people to think about in the opposite direction because the regulations have been created with all the differences between European Union, America, UK, to mitigate or prevent the risks that artificial intelligence can create. And this is the first point. But the, the focus is what are the risks? So why we are speaking about the risks? So let's imagine a scenario where there are no regulations. Okay, so it's up to the companies think about that this artificial intelligence can bring some problem risks. So the focus should shift between what is the regulation to what the companies need to do as risk management, especially for artificial intelligence systems. So the first, let's say, prompt to answer is that yes, but if the companies, the business activate risk management across different points.
Right.
And I can say that many of the points that I have read about the different regulations cover quite a lot of what
Yeah.
are the risks. The
Yeah. I mean,
only
I was going to say, I think it's got to be part of a broader, multifaceted approach that includes international cooperation, stakeholder engagement, robust reinforcement, and then kind of the integration of these new development kind of environments in order to really create a way to leverage AI in a positive sense and not use it for bad intents. Which kind of, you play off of what you were where you were going on that. Let me just ask this next question: what role should business leaders play in advocating for fair and equitable AI regulations? And what role should these business leaders, take on in order to help this along?
okay, there is the first role and hat is thinking in terms of risk management. So simple, straightforward. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that needs to be shared across the hierarchy organization. Why? Because be an open person, open leader that trace, design, and share the vision. It's fine. This is similar to another governance or strategy approaches. But the problem is that the leaders need to understand not to be specific, knowledgeable about what is artificial intelligence systems, because they need to understand what are the impacts, firstly. Secondly, where. And thirdly, understand how to direct other executives or other people in the
Mm,
organization to build something that works. Because in the end, risk management, what is it? I prevent, I avoid, sorry, and mitigate all. I remove the risk. Okay, I can't remove this because there is a. So leaders have a, let's say, a responsibility role that involves also a moral aspects because privacy,
mhm.
ethics, stakeholder engagement, employees engagement and motivation. These 4 or 5 points can make the difference because people are looking at them, not
Yeah.
at the regulation.
I'm with you. I think business leaders need to play a proactive role in advocating for this and
Yes.
collaborate with policymakers, collaborate with industry peers, as you say, talk to stakeholders and shape effective and balanced policies. And
Yeah.
to your point, promote transparency, ethical standards, accountability within their own organizations.
Yeah,
So the so,
absolutely.
so they become the sort of the example. They set the example for industry-wide best practices. And they should engage in
Correct.
public discourse and education like we're doing today with this conversation. Talk about it. Get these ideas out there. Let people consider what does this stuff mean to them, you know?
And get what the people think because with institutions, I don't speaking about regulators, but other associations and so on,
Hmm.
we listen you. This means that at least you know right or wrong what they think about this.
Hmm.
Because if we still need to think about leaders, company, we don't know how other stakeholders outside think about what we are doing and what is EI, dubs, fear, whatever. Why?
Hmm.
Because otherwise, how we can tune what we do
Right.
with other people? Because reputation, sorry, especially in America or big companies or corporation, is is not free. You
Right.
know what I mean? So, okay.
So let's shift a little bit and get at, how can companies balance regulatory compliance with competitive advantages that might be gleaned from using AI appropriately? How do companies balance that?
This is a quite a tricky question because I repeat myself maybe, but it's the starting point is how I can cover my company from all the risk possible, imaginable, and then check if the regulations are fair or I'm doing too much or I'm not fully compliant. So the approach is my company. I see what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, and then I check the regulations or in parallel way. It's not on the way around because, as I wrote somewhere in some articles, the problem is not of the state government. No, the problem is on companies.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what is the, sorry, what is the trade-off? So
Right.
there is no trade-off because or you choose one that you say is a line or is a problem if something happened,
Right.
right?
I think it's an integration and mindset issue. So
Correct.
first the mindset, if you view compliance not as a constraint but as a driver of sustainable and responsible innovation, leaders can inform how their R&D is driven, which leads to the integration part of the equation, right? By integrating compliance into the innovation strategies, they can develop an AI solution that not only meets standards like you're saying, but also is adaptable to future regulations, whatever those might be. Because I think this is going to evolve for a while. It's not going to be once and done. It's going to be something that takes shape
Correct.
over time, you know. So,
Correct.
of course, collaborating with regulators and industry groups and other companies are going to help to develop what the regulation actually, is and how it gets changed and shifts to accommodate our business strategies, right?
Correct.
Uh,
This is the magic word. A company thrives if it is in the market, needs to innovate whatever is the tools that is used, and to be competitive and to bring value. If you do the way around, artificial intelligence is somewhere, but to make it work properly, no, there is another, we'll say another line that is a parallel one that is regulation. It's not
mhm.
regulation, business strategy, and AI. It's on the way around.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. I notice in some of the articles that you've written lately, you're kind of pointing to the various governance approaches in different parts of the world. Do you want to share a little bit about some of the insights you're starting to gather?
Yeah. Okay. There are 2 points that are fundamental. We start from governance, that is how to understand, approve settings, and make it work, that involves people within the organization. This means that you have different levels of governance. Firstly, is the board or committees that decide what is correct or not, both for data and ops algorithms, because the
Yeah.
data are clean and then you don't check algorithms. You have. And then there are different levels. This is my opinion about the framework that I think that you have read, that moves towards, let's say, experts, other committees,
Hmm.
consultants, expert for privacy, data quality, that are going to check if the outputs are correct. And the last point is those that are close to the decision makers. Decision makers are those that pick up the outcomes and they say, no, yes, no. This is the governance, meaning nothing goes out without having a sort of rules that are connected with an auditing.
Hmm.
But the auditing can be made as a sample, like there are some statistical stuff. You can do whatever you like. You fix your rent. And then there are accountability.
Hmm.
Accountability, in my view, is who is responsible if something happens,
Hmm.
but not to point the finger, to see what are the actions that I need to create
Hmm.
to remove the problem.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
mean,
accountability.
yeah, I was just going to play off of that. I think it begins with accountability. And and as I've read some of your stuff and I've done some of my own research into it, 'cause I do a lot of advisory services to companies that are getting into the whole AI game now, and they're asking me for advice on how they should proceed. And ideas for its use and so on. So as I'm gathering all this insight, I'm recognizing, like in the United States, for example, it seems to be a bit bifurcated. There's state-driven councils and sector security kind of specific regulatory groups forming, AI applications such as the FTC is going to decide what consumer
Okay.
protection rules are, and DOT is going to decide how transportation is going to be governed. But conversely, when I look at the European Union, they just approved the EU AI Act in March, just last month. It looks like it's aimed at creating frameworks that prioritize human rights and risk management and accountability, like you're describing. And they're pushing, it seems to me anyway, for worldwide adoption. And then you've got China, who's playing this role, and they're accelerating AI development for their own sort of economic growth and national security, but they also use it for surveillance capabilities. And that raises all kinds of concerns about privacy and individual rights and all of that. So, when I'm looking at that stuff, I'm wondering, and maybe this is a good question for us to tackle next. How should business leaders approach the challenge of differing AI regulations across these multiple countries that they may be doing business in?
Yeah, okay, if we start from, I call the most rigid one, rigid because it's a compulsory, okay, European Union. Oh, it's true, but they
Yeah,
said I
yeah,
have.
yeah. No, I love it. Go. Yeah. Tell us more.
Mm, that is the point of reference now for different countries because they have mapped the impossible. Sorry, is that? But they are giving some direction to other countries because there are the first concept is the risks, medium, low, high. That is a
Hmm.
sort of boat that is crossing the sea and creates two two waves, in or out. And this is rigid, but if you check the regulation, they ask companies that have a business in Europe to adequate. Now, I'm thinking about China. If they don't do this in Europe, the, you don't work. So you need to adequate. For the rest is to understand the impact, firstly on the business.
Hmm.
Secondly, to understand how you can use artificial intelligence and what is the value of what are the, let's say, the features that you want to use, and then compare what is the impact or what is the cost, investment, effort, resources. Because if you see that you can't really gain an increasing of revenues, turnover, or margins, you wait, meaning you don't invest massively on a country or group of countries because of you can't or you don't want. You can stay in America, you can stay UK, but you know what I mean. It must be evaluated the impact related to the value that artificial intelligence within any aspects, like CRM, whatever, procurement can bring you. Then you adapt or not, or
Hmm.
you do the bare minimum to keep the business. You
Hmm.
don't use other features, so you don't develop more sophisticated digital tools.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
like when you go to invest to export,
Hmm.
the comparison is high level, but when you want to export, you make the analysis of country risk.
Yeah, I mean, I think flexibility and adaptability are really the key, right? I mean, it involves closely monitoring the regulatory developments in different parts of the world, wherever you're doing business, having relationships with local sort of legal experts, and investing in cross-functional teams that can help make sure
Yeah,
that you've got the right policies for yourself as a business leader. And then perhaps additionally, adopting a global standard within your own organization for the ethical use of AI so that your organization maintains consistency and
yeah.
trust across borders, right?
That
I think that's kind of the stuff I'm working on right now with clients is trying to figure out how to do that, and build that into the way we do business.
there is a good point. This I took for granted that we need to do something, especially for the. But if Microsoft that made a lot of effort, okay, to develop and selling Copilot and so on, is
Hmm.
still not ready to act at the global level is
Hmm.
because this requires, firstly, in my opinion, that the countries or the regions experiment what they have a plan to do. It's experimentation is not only with the tools of artificial
Sure.
intelligence, it's also what is surrounding, because nobody knows what is the violation for European Union. You need to see a case that, like it happened with Facebook time ago, when they violated the privacy. So
Hmm.
this is so takes time also to experiment. At the moment is a canvas,
Let,
clean.
let,
Sorry.
no, well, let's play with that. I think you bring up a really important and interesting point, Luca. I mean, what are the risks and benefits of businesses who are the early adopters of this? The people that are getting into Microsoft Copilot and other AI tools. And what happens, against the backdrop of sort of the evolving regulatory landscapes? What do we, how do we help these leaders as they wrestle with this stuff?
Um, can I? This is quite provoking, so I risk my face. Firstly, uh, there is an important lesson that has been explained in all the possible course from Coursera to Microsoft. Okay. You need to understand what you are doing and where you can get the value. First point, because I can't follow the hype because I found something that can help me to have a decision making process in 30 seconds. So the mini meeting, now you can speed up. Firstly, this is the first point. I have seen, I read some cases. Secondly, you define what are the roadmap that is based on what I need to do to get value and also deliver value to my clients, my stakeholders. This is not, in my opinion, a big problem because you start being focused from the vision, you go there. So it's a
Hmm.
very practical brainstorming. Then you can understand, looking around, what is happening, cases. There are three or four websites now. It's I can't share, but I will share through you, where you can see uh, defects or very heavy issues. Well, you can understand. You don't
Sure.
need to learn anything to understand what is going on around the world. These are fantastics. And then start to create what I call the first phase that is already feasible is the adoption.
Hmm.
The adoption is small, or medium, you test
Hmm.
your ideas with effective support of employees, managers. So you have a flavor of what is going on.
Hmm.
You are not in rush to go live because it's impossible, but you understand, you have a map, and you say, okay, now let's find the next steps.
Hmm.
So the adoption is longer, in my opinion, but otherwise you can't scale up. There was a webinar managed by Gartner where there were three big companies, DHL, oil and gas, BP, sorry, and another company group, I remember. All of them said that it has been very ethical to go through the adoption. But while they were speaking, they were looking at the left, they were memorizing what was wrong, what we didn't think about.
Hmm.
That is gold.
Hmm.
Because when you move ahead, you have the leaders that can
Sure.
understand.
The issues, yeah. I mean, I think that there are definitely risks in being kind of an early adopter there, and there's possible costs because you may have to have operational disruptions because you have to change something with a regulation
Yeah,
when you're out of compliance. And I also think there's a reputational risk because you could be using these AI applications inadvertently and you can be causing harm, or ethical concerns could be raised about your brand and stuff like that. I also think there's a huge opportunity for people who are early adopters to actually, stop the runaway train. There's that expression, how do you stop a
yeah,
runaway train? You jump on board. Like the very first thing you have to do is be on board, and then you can take control. So I kind of feel there's an opportunity right now for business leaders to play an active role in shaping some of what these regulations are going to be about and so on.
absolutely. Because there is more knowledge, more information has circulated. I call a bombardment in the last six,
Sure.
7 months about that.
Yeah.
And there is a more sensibility to understand, or not to have a barrier to say what is behind the wall. No, you can see from a window, and it's already different. But there is also another risk that I will write an article because I read too many situations. The
Yeah.
shadow AI
Right.
is like the shadow internal system based on Excel
Hmm.
some years ago.
Hmm.
The only problem is that if people goes on the web somehow, or they produce information, or they use information from the company,
Right. Yeah. Sure.
I can think about the damage reputation is out of control. So
Yeah. So I could talk to you for the rest of the day here, Luke. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I want to ask you sort of one last question, and it's really this. I mean, what words of wisdom can you leave for our audience today that will help them think about the proper and equitable use of AI? What would you like to leave people with?
okay, can I say something? You forgive
Sure.
me. Firstly, you can follow my newsletter because it's a
Sure.
starting point.
Yeah, it's a source of
Okay.
good information. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that we need to follow a process individually that is to understand with the simple materials 4 points. What I was speaking about, mm, something that gives you the idea, like drawing the values that you would like to receive and give. Nothing changed because give value to the customers and receive value in a monetary term, a brand is the same. There is only a piece of technology. So, but this shapes your mind and design a simple road map.
Hmm.
I will share with you tomorrow. Is a PowerPoint drawing. You feel what you want to feel. There are some constraints, and then you start using this canvas to check, to allocate the, let us say, the news that are hypes, so you don't put there, or if they're connected with the value that you want to give or deliver, so you take notes. So
Hmm.
you shape your mind in something that is useful.
Hmm.
Not immediately, but it can help you to prepare yourself to expand the knowledge.
Sure.
Simple.
So yeah, I mean, as we wrap this up, I would leave our viewers with this idea, embrace a mindset of continuous learning and ethical responsibility, and ensure that your use of AI benefits stakeholders and is not causing harm. And remember that the
Good.
true value of AI lies not just in its capabilities, but how it's used positively to impact society and build trust. And that's really what I think we should be trying to do as business leaders today. And with that, Luca, I need to say so long. I need to say thank you for coming on. I really
It's mutual.
appreciate all those great ideas you shared with us today. And I look forward to collaborating with you some more down the road.
Well, we know we are close to start to do this,
Yes.
but it's okay. Thank you very much, Jim. And everybody, goodbye. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.